As Albert Einstein once said, only a life lived for others is worth living. Hello, my name is Bryce, and I'm with the group SETS. And over the past 2 weeks, our group has volunteered our time providing washing and walking services at the Wags and Whiskers Pet Rescue Center in Chico. And today we will be going over what issues we faced and how we solved them, the overall outcome from our volunteerism, the status of our goals in which we presented in our first presentation, and finally, what was everyone's takeaway from volunteering at the Wags and Whiskers Pet Rescue Center. I personally will be going over what I did while volunteering at the shelter, the completion of our group goal of individually volunteering 6 hours of our time, and my own personal takeaways from serving the animals in the shelter's care. After me, we will have Charlie, who will be going over our group goal of gathering like-minded individuals to volunteer at the shelter. He will also be going over an issue in his own experience. After that will be Missile, who will be going over our group goal of valuing time giving back to the community, and he will also be going over an issue in his personal experience. Then we'll have Jirelli, who will be going over the group goal of understanding how a dog shelter operates, another issue and her experience as well. And finally, we'll have Iris, who will be going over the group goal of creating a positive impact on the dogs' lives, another issue and her personal experience as well. Now, to hop into the details, what did I participate while volunteering at the Wags and Whiskers Pet Rescue? I participated in washing dogs as well as walking several dogs as well. I also was able to provide water to the dogs' kennels as well as helping clean out the kennels as well. Now to move back to our group goal was to provide 6 hours of individual volunteer time at the shelter. We were all able to meet that goal, all 5 of us, and for a total of 30 hours spent helping volunteer at the shelter, which I know is truly appreciated by the staff members. Now to move on to my personal experience, I was able to get a sense of truly being able to help the dogs that were in need there at the shelter, and you could just tell that they wanted to have some interaction and also be able to go out and get some fresh air. And you were able to get instant gratification through this volunteerism, as you got to be able to wash the dogs or be able to take them a walk, and you could tell that they were happier being outside and having attention and being groomed as well. And now if you'll pass your direction off to the picture here, we have Dee Dee. She is an 11-year-old dog that had to be given up by her owner, who was moving to a convalescent home. I had the privilege of being able to walk her as well as being able to give her a nice bath. She was truly a joy to interact with, and as being an older dog, it is harder for older dogs to get adopted, but Dee Dee is a great girl and hopefully she will get adopted soon. And now to reiterate, I've gone over what I did at the Wags and Whiskers Pet Rescue, the completion of our group goal to volunteer for 6 hours, and I've gone over my own personal takeaways from our community service project. Overall, I'm very pleased with the work of our group, and now finally to state Einstein once again, only a life lived for others is a life worth living, and now I'll be passing off to Charlie.
Thanks, Bryce. Hi, my name's Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Thanks, guys. This is our last and final presentation. Finally. But in seriousness, our project was a success. We were able to care for a handful of dogs at the Wags and Whiskers shelter. I'll be going over our goal, which is finding like-minded individuals to help us volunteer at the shelter, our group challenge and how we solved and overcame it, and as well as my personal take on the project. To start, one of our group goals was to find like-minded individuals to help volunteer at the Wags and Whiskers shelter. And we were actually able to get a couple people to come down and volunteer alongside us. So to them, thank you, and it's also awesome to convince people to come volunteer with you and help out the community. One of our main problems we faced was meeting up as a group. It's hard to get everybody together, especially when everyone has a busy schedule. Anything from being out of town, sick, or having family and personal issues. It's difficult getting time aside to meet with your group as young adults. Despite this, we overcame people not being at meetings by doing everything we could do with whoever wasn't there. We came together as a group and made a bad situation good by doing whatever we could without who wasn't there. And whoever wasn't at the meeting, we made sure to catch them up on whatever they missed so they didn't feel left behind. Last of all, my personal take on the project, it was positive. We helped out some animals who just needed a little bit of love in their life by giving them some attention. It feels good knowing you can help someone or something just by being there for them, and that's what matters. And that's what the Wags and Whiskers project. All that matters. To conclude, I went over our original group goal of finding people to help volunteer. I went over the group's challenge and how we overcame it, and I went over my own personal take on the project. And now, on the missile.
You know what they say about the first experience. The first experience is always the most memorable. And me walking into Wags and Whiskers is for sure one that's to be memorable. Hi, my name is Mr. Rama, and I'll be talking about one of our group goals, issues that we had, and finally my experience at Wags and Whiskers. I'm going to start off the presentation with one of the goals that I said in the very first presentation, and that was value time, give back to the community. Why do we want to value time, give back to the community? Mostly because we want to have the experience that many want to know, and also give all the emotions back to the dogs that were missing from previous times. The question is, did we achieve it? I would say definitely. We all have different experiences at Wags and Whiskers, and as shown here today, we definitely value our time to the community. With all successful goals, we have one or maybe two issues along the way. One of these main issues was meetings. I live in Gridley, and also at the time I did not have my license, so attending meetings in Chico was very difficult. But in order to solve this, everybody will FaceTime me, and I will also do the work digitally. It seemed to work out really well. Now I'm going to talk about my experience at Wags and Whiskers. Walking in through those doors, I did not know what to expect. Bryce and I came across this dog, German Shepherd, in a cage that had his back turned against us and was very timid. This dog name is Buddy. But once we took him out, he was a fur ball of energy. He's just like me in a dog form, full of energy and just no care in the world. Buddy was a prime example of what many dogs experience at Wags and Whiskers. They're mostly in cages, just barking and just wanting attention. I love Buddy so much to the point that I'm in the talks of adopting him soon. Hopefully it goes well. So throughout this presentation, I talked about our group goals and that we achieved it, also issues that came along the way, and also the experience overall at Wags and Whiskers. Hopefully I inspired you to go to your local shelter and hopefully meet a dog and connect to them as much as how I connected to Buddy. And now to talk about her experience, issues, and goals, I give the stage to Jareli.
Thank you, Miss Long. Hello, I'm Jareli, and today I'm going to start off with a quote from Audrey Hepburn that reads, "As you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others." Have you ever experienced somebody giving you what they say, the puppy face, or even giving somebody that expression when you were younger, now, or maybe even both? The purpose as to why I'm here today is to give some feedback on my experience while volunteering at Wags and Whiskers, and to hopefully also encourage any of you today to volunteer, or if not, just to go visit the animal shelter. Today I will be discussing my emotional experience while volunteering and how being able to volunteer at Wags and Whiskers gave me the opportunity to learn about how the shelter operates and how we, the group SUDS, were able to overcome challenges along the way. Now let's talk about how our experiences at Wags and Whiskers made us leave wanting to take all the animals home with us. Visiting made me very emotional, but being able to volunteer made me able to grow connections with the animals there, also while overcoming challenges. It made me emotional because since walking in, it is very noticeable how desperate the animals are just to get someone up to their cage where they can get some love, which challenges to try to give all the animals they love that they wanted. Volunteering allowed me to give attention to the dogs there, and it also made me happy that we were able to see them happy wandering around, rather than being caged in, barking for attention, which also made us another challenge when we were walking them because they had too much energy that it was difficult for us to try to keep up with them. Being in the shelter allowed us to see how the shelter operates in order to maintain all the animals there as best as possible before they can find a hopefully forever home. While being at the hectic shelter, we were also observant of what was being done in the shelter to help it operate. For example, there were staff in charge of cleaning, feeding, healthcare, and paperwork. Also, there were donation boxes in the entrance where people would drop off donations that they could be used later on for the running of the shelter or for the use of the animal care too. In review, by us volunteering at Wax and Whiskers, we were able to learn about the operation of the shelter as well as give attention to and love to the animals there that were much needed since the staff were handling other tasks. This experience hopefully allows me to encourage other people to go volunteer to help reduce the number of puppy faces being made in need for attention. As you grow older, now I will hand it off to Iris, who will continue to talk about her experience.
Thank you, Charlie. Hello again for the last time. I'm Iris Vasquez, and you should know that by now. I'm part of the group SUDS, also known as Student Unified Dog Sanitation. Let me just start off by saying that I'm glad we chose to do this. I had so much fun working with my group and these amazing dogs. I really recommend all of you to take time and go volunteer. With our project, we are trying to encourage you to go out and visit a dog shelter. Who knows, you might be taking home a loyal companion. Today I'm going to go over what we did, refresh one of my goals, and whether we accomplished it or not, my experience, and some complications we ran into. Now that you know what I'll be sharing with you, let's get into the details. We volunteered to help at the Wags and Whiskers Pet Rescue. We were originally going to help groom the dogs, but when we got there, they primarily needed help walking them. The dogs were so happy to be out of their small cages and out in the fresh air, and I'm glad to help give them that. It was fun walking and spending time with them, although I did run into some issues. They were minor and easily solved. The first issue was having to choose which one of the many dogs we would have to walk, but a staff member helped by letting us know which of the dogs haven't been out in a while. Another problem was the walking itself. Some of them were not allowed to be around other dogs. The walking areas were limited, but we were able to get through just fine. Besides these little troubles, I'm sure we made a few dogs very happy, which leads us to my goal. Since presentation number 1, my goal was to create a positive impact on sheltered dogs. Many of these dogs were caged in small spaces, so by walking them and letting them have some fresh air and stretch out their legs was a huge impact already. I believe we were very successful in the completion of our goal, because by walking and spending time with them, we were able to show them a different side of humanity than the ones they have seen in the past. I had an amazing time meeting many dogs with different characteristics and backgrounds. I am sure to keep going and help in any way I can. I love seeing the joy on their faces and the wag in their tails. I learned so much from both the staff and the dogs. I learned to be grateful for all that I have, considering some of these dogs have lost everything. I also noticed that dogs are also willing to give second chances, and I want to be like that as well. I admire how the staff were always caring, and it didn't even bother them to have to clean up their messes. It is important for us to dedicate a little bit of our time to those who need it, like these dogs. I truly believe they are the purest, loyal, and caring animals out there, so we need to show them the same kindness and loyalty. I hope I convinced you to come down and help with these awesome animals, and hopefully you find the one or ones you connect with and take one home. Thank you for listening.
Yay!